Welcome to NYNJPA Weather, your weather source for the Northern Mid-Atlantic. I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. Here's our surface map as of about 10 a.m. this morning, and you can see our area low pressure that produced a mix of rain, snow, and sleet along the coast, and a pretty impressive snowfall over the interior is now exiting into the Northern Atlantic. Another area low pressure is over Virginia. That's part of the upper level disturbance that was moving through the mid-Atlantic earlier on this morning. Now, snowfall totals from this storm generally ranged around a trace to an inch along the coast. Eastern Long Island pushed to 2 to 3 inches with some snow departing earlier this morning. Meanwhile, the interior ranged anywhere from 6 to 12 inches of snow. Parts of Sussex County in New Jersey and parts of northeastern Pennsylvania really got a pretty good snowfall out of this storm. So what can we expect for the rest of the weekend? Well, the good news is that high pressure is sitting over the Canadian plains and northern plains. Will continue to build south and east through the Great Lakes and into the northern mid-Atlantic over the next 24 hours. That means skies will clear and high pressure will be in control through tomorrow and into Saturday. But there is one disturbance that we're going to keep an eye on for Sunday. This is the 500 millibar pattern for Sunday afternoon on the GFS model guidance from the Penn State EWOL. And you can see we have our polar vortex still sitting over Quebec, and that's going to keep the northern mid-Atlantic rather cool throughout this entire weekend. But we also have disturbances racing through much of the United States and exiting out of the mid-Atlantic coast. Now there's an area low pressure that will be passing through Virginia that will likely produce some rain over the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. That rain may reach southern New Jersey, but right now I don't have that in the forecast for the most part because what we have in place here over the northern Atlantic is what we call a convergent flow, which usually means that air is sinking over the region. And that typically leads to pretty much overcast clouds in this type of setup with an isolated shower here and there over southern New Jersey and most of the precipitation falling as virga. So right now I'm staying relatively dry for this weekend with this storm missing to the south. Now if this upper level low or polar vortex is a little bit further north, then the low pressure system will be able to track a little bit further north and thus bring a risk of some showers. But for right now I think that's going to remain to the south. And at the surface on Sunday afternoon you can see high pressure pretty much in control over much of the eastern Great Lakes. And after this low pressure system exits on Sunday afternoon, high pressure will remain in control through Tuesday and into Wednesday morning. And then we're going to have to keep an eye on another storm. This is 500 millibars on Tuesday afternoon, and you could clearly see we have a rather robust disturbance sitting over the plains. And of course we still have our polar vortex over the Canadian Maritimes at this point, producing a weak east-based negative NAO pattern. Now, what's important here is that upper level low is going to start to lift north, and that means that the disturbance sitting over the plains will be able to track a little bit further north, more towards central Pennsylvania and central New York, rather than being suppressed to the south like the first storm. As a result, this second storm that looks like it will impact the northern Mid-Atlantic around Thursday morning through Thursday afternoon will bring the potential for some interior snowfall and a mixed bag of rain, potentially some severe weather along the coast. It's going to be a rather dynamic storm, so we're going to have to keep an eye on exactly where this storm's going to track. But right now, a lot of the model guidance is pointing to a relatively warm storm track, and a lot of the teleconnections out there, especially when you have a deep trough over the west, would suggest a storm track over the interior rather than along or east of the coast. Now, one of the interesting factors with this storm at 850 millibars is that unlike the last storm where you had a cold polar air mass try to push south from Quebec into the northeast, this time the cold air will be retreating, and as you can see there really isn't much in the way of a cold air mass over central Canada, and at most temperatures are around minus 12 degrees Celsius over parts of Quebec, and that's lifting north with the upper level low. So even in the event that this storm tracks along or off the east coast, a lot of the precipitation is going to have to fall as rain because temperatures even at 850 millibars are not really that cold. There is a potential again for higher elevation snowfall where temperatures at 850 millibars around -3 degrees Celsius is cold enough for accumulating snow. But as we saw yesterday throughout much of the day, when 850 millibar temperatures rose above -6 degrees Celsius along the coastal plain, anything that fell may have fallen as snow, but it didn't accumulate because temperatures were too warm at the surface. And I think we're going to be dealing with pretty much a similar situation here, even over the valleys in the interior where temperatures are just going to be too warm for any type of accumulating snow. But because of all this warm air over the south, we are going to have to watch to see the potential for severe thunderstorms, especially over southern New Jersey and southeastern Pennsylvania. Finally, I also want to point out that the GFS model is taking this storm and pretty much bringing it through the region on Wednesday, and the European model guidance is a little bit too slow with taking the storm in on Friday. I went with a hybrid here of going for a Thursday impact with this storm, and the reason why is because we are going to have a lot of convergence and confluence over the northern Mid-Atlantic, which is going to keep this high pressure that is sitting over much of the eastern Great Lakes and Ohio Valley on Tuesday afternoon strong enough to keep this storm at bay for at least another 24 hours. So I'm looking at an impact on Thursday, looking for increasing clouds on Wednesday, rain for the most part on Thursday, possibly a little bit mixing of snow over the interior. And again, we're going to have to look at the threat for severe weather with this storm. After this storm exits, the pattern is going to start to change and it's going to move towards a much warmer weather pattern, although the storms will continue to remain progressive with a chance of showers every so often. Thank you for trusting in NYNJPA Weather as your weather source for the Northern Mid-Atlantic. I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. Have a great day.